Good morning. There are always a few keys that if you really understand them, everything becomes easier. Is that not true of many, many times in life? I'm going to give you an example of this, and that is understanding patterns. So much of the time people struggle with relationships and don't know how to set boundaries or don't know how to develop fantastic relationships. Often if they would simply notice their own patterns and other people's patterns, if they understand, wait a second, when this happens, usually something else follows it. Maybe I shouldn't be getting into this relationship, or maybe this is the relationship that I do want. If we just notice the patterns in other people ourselves, everything would become easier. I'm going to talk about patterns a little bit. The example that I want to use today is, or not the example, the idea that I want to get across today is simply paying attention to patterns. If you ask, so my background in psychology, this is what I wanted to be, was working towards becoming a psychologist, and I practiced for a couple of years. Now I'm not anymore, but I apply these principles to coaching. If I was to say there's one thing that psychologists are great at least if it's a good psychologist, is to recognize patterns. That's it. That's one of the key fundamental skills of psychology. Now, that can be applied to the questions that you ask people, or how people behave, or seeing something in somebody else's life, and you start to share this with somebody and they go, I never recognized that before. And that's fantastic. Becoming aware of patterns. So how do I need to become aware of patterns for myself? Well, legitimately, if I do something once, I make a mistake once, something else happens once, I'm usually not too worried about it. Once is not a pattern. But if I make a mistake twice, if I get up late 2 times in a week, if I have 2 fights with somebody in my household in a day, if something happens more than once, now it's a pattern. Now I need to pay attention to it because it's saying something. My dad had a statement he always used to tell us when we were kids. He said, if you fight with one person, it could be both of your faults. If you fight with everyone in the family, the fingers are pointing in one direction, and that's you, right? So in the end, notice your own patterns. If something happens more than once, go, wait a second, is there anything to this? Sometimes there might not be, but usually where there's smoke, there's fire, right? Usually when there's something that's happened more than once, I need to start paying attention to it. So if I get up late twice in a week, or if I don't work out a couple times in a week, I need to ask myself, wait a second, am I tired? Am I not taking care of myself? Am I anxious or stressed about something? What's going on? Simply asking those questions will give me so much insight into myself and my life. Now, I also pay attention to patterns in other people. If somebody stands me up once for a coffee, or this doesn't happen very often to me, people don't stand me up very often, but every once in a while it happens. If it happens once, that's not a big deal. I don't judge people very harshly. I try to be on time for everything, but legitimately I know life can come up, and that's okay. But if somebody stands me up twice, I will most likely, it depends on the person, I can think of a couple of different scenarios, but most likely I'm never going to book appointments with them ever again. Especially if I don't know them well, okay? Ever. Because the pattern is that they are choosing to waste somebody else's time. They're allowing something else to get in the way. And if that's true now, it's always going to be true, most likely. This is the way patterns work. Once you've recognized the pattern, you know that it typically follows with somebody's life. I can talk about my dad's patterns and my mom's patterns and my kids' patterns and my wife's patterns and my patterns, both good and things that aren't as good for us or other people around us. Pay attention to patterns. The more you pay attention to patterns, the more you're going to be able to recognize things in yourself or others that you can go, okay, there's a more likelihood that this is the way it's going to go, so I need to change something or be okay with where it's going. I hope this was clear. If this is not clear, please send in a comment. Please ask me a question. Call me on my cell phone or email me or get in contact with me, because I'd love to communicate more about this. This is something that is so fundamental to people, and it legitimately changes the way people engage with life, both for themselves and what they're doing, as well as with other people in relationships. Enjoy starting to pay attention to your patterns. Notice something this week that's happened more than once and ask yourself, what's this about? That's all you have to do to start. It'll pay boundless dividends in your life. Enjoy the day.